Hey, my name is Ethan. I'm 31. Until 4 months ago, I was just the dependable guy at a corporate firm, the one who fixed slide decks at midnight and never asked questions. Then, one Wednesday night in the rain, my boss stood in a parking garage holding her car keys and looked at me like I was the only safe place left in the world. She was 44, married, untouchable, and she asked, "Can I stay at your place tonight?" I could smell her perfume through the rain when I signed the visitor log downstairs. Lemon and something I still can't name. 2 weeks later, at 2 in the morning, she whispered, "Last night felt like breathing." If you're watching this right now, tell me where you're from in the comments. Because I still don't know if what we did was wrong. I remember the exact moment I knew my life was about to crack open. It was a Monday morning. 7:10. Rain tapping my kitchen window like it was trying to tell me something. I stood there tying my tie, the one with the loose thread I kept meaning to fix but never did, and I looked at my phone. Claire W., 9 Oasra, Quarterly Review Prep. I didn't know then that her name would become the only word that mattered. My apartment was small. The kind of small where you could touch both walls if you stretched your arms out. The radiator hummed all winter long, even when it wasn't that cold. Mrs. Delaney from down the hall always waved at me in the mornings. Sweet old woman, watched everything, remembered everything. I worked at a corporate firm downtown. Nothing fancy. I fixed the quiet problems no one else wanted to deal with. Printer jams, slide decks that wouldn't format right, meeting rooms that got double booked. I was the guy people called when they needed something steady. Dependable. That's what Nina always said. Nina Park. She worked on my floor. Smart as hell. Had a way of seeing through people that made you nervous even when you had nothing to hide. "You're the dependable one, Ethan," she'd say, smiling like she knew something I didn't. "Just be careful. Dependability gets used." Claire Whitmore was my boss. Not directly, but close enough that I saw her most days. She was composed. That's the word. Controlled. She wore her wealth the way some people wear perfume. You didn't notice it until you were already breathing it in. I'd seen her wedding ring, saw the way she rubbed the skin under it sometimes when she thought no one was looking. That first week, she asked me to stay late. "Sensitive project?" she said. Her voice was warm, professional, but something in it landed too personally, and I felt it in my chest before I could stop it. I left the office after dark that Monday. The lobby had soft music playing. Classical stuff that made everything feel like a movie. I stepped outside and saw her car parked across the street. She was sitting in the driver's seat. Alone. Staring down at her house key like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I didn't sleep much that night. Tuesday morning, I woke up to an email from her, sent at 2:18 a.m. "Need revisions. Please prioritize." The phone screen glowed against my ceiling. I stared at it for a long time. I got to the office early, fixed the deck, brought it to her office. She was already there, hair damp like she'd showered at the gym. She looked brittle, like one wrong word would shatter something. "Thank you," she said. Didn't look at me. I heard 2 senior staffers mention her husband's name later that morning. Graham. He funded some charity event tied to the firm. Money that big always had names attached. Nina caught me near the coffee machine. "Happy hour Thursday," she said. "You coming?" I hesitated. The truth was I couldn't afford the bar they liked, and I didn't want to be seen as trying too hard. "Maybe," I said. Claire asked me to attend a client dinner that Thursday. "As support," she said, but her tone made it sound like she didn't want to be alone. I said yes. That evening, I walked past her office and heard her on the phone. Her voice was soft, controlled. Yes, I'm fine. No, don't come home late. Then silence. I went home that night and washed a coffee mug with lemon dish soap. The smell stuck to my hands. I could hear Mrs. Delaney in the hallway talking to someone about the Whitmore family on the news again. I didn't mean to, but I Googled them. Photos of Claire beside Graham at events. She smiled like a portrait. Perfect. Polished. Empty. I felt shame for even looking, like I was crossing a line I couldn't uncross. I drafted an email to her with the final corrections, deleted it, rewrote it, sent it. Hated how much I overthought every word. The building super mentioned the lobby camera had been upgraded. Sees everything now, he said, grinning like it was a good thing. I noticed the visitor log at the front desk when I picked up a package. Just a clipboard, names written in pen. Mine sat there like evidence. That night I couldn't sleep. I stood by my window and watched rain start again. Heavier this time. A siren passed somewhere across the city. Ordinary, not dramatic. Just the sound of a restless night. Wednesday morning, 8:05, elevator chime, soft lobby music. I stepped out and saw Claire already in the elevator. Close enough to smell her perfume. Clean linen mixed with something subtle I couldn't name. She dropped a pen that day. Her hand trembled when she picked it up. She laughed at a joke 3 seconds too late. I helped her carry folders. Our fingers brushed once, accidental, quick, but it stuck to me like heat. Nina saw it. Later she pulled me aside. Be cautious with proximity, she said. Not mean, just careful. People write stories when they're bored. Graham showed up in the lobby that afternoon. Charming, shaking hands, greeting people like he owned the air. When he touched Claire's back, I watched her shrink. Just a little. But I saw it. At the end of the day, Claire called me into her office. My driver's off tonight, she said. Can you follow behind my car, just to make sure I get home okay? She tried to make it sound normal. It didn't sound normal. 6:55 p.m., rain again, windshield wipers ticking. I followed her car out of the garage, stayed 2 car lengths back. At a red light, she glanced in her rearview mirror. Our eyes met through glass and rain. My stomach tightened. She pulled into a pharmacy parking lot. Got out. Came back with a small bag. She looked embarrassed, like needing anything at all was shameful. I didn't ask. My phone buzzed. Nina. Happy hour? You coming? I lied, said I was stuck at the office. Claire's car hesitated before turning toward her gated neighborhood. Then it turned away, toward downtown. She called me hands-free. I can't go home yet, she said. Her voice was steady, but thin. I just can't. 8:12 p.m. We sat in a quiet diner, separate sides of the booth, like distance could protect us. She ordered tea. I ordered coffee and regretted the cost. We talked about work, the weather, small things that didn't matter. Then she mentioned her son, Oliver, away at college. The house got quieter, she said, and no one replaced the noise. I told her about my mother, how she used to keep the porch light on even when she was mad. So you always knew where home was. Claire held that thought too long. A woman at the next table recognized her, whispered to her friend. Claire's shoulders tensed. We left separately, but she lingered outside under the awning, rain falling around her, like she was waiting for permission to exist. Then she checked her purse, patted her pockets, froze. My keys, she said. Too soft, almost like a secret. 10:03 p.m., office garage, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Claire searched her car, seats, console, trunk. I stood a respectful distance away, heart pounding anyway. Her phone was almost dead, Her driver wasn't available. Her gated neighborhood security wouldn't let her in without ID and keys and confirmation from Graham, who wasn't answering. She tried to laugh it off, but her eyes were wet. "I can call a locksmith," I said. "No, it'll notify people." "A hotel? That becomes a story." "A friend?" "There's no one I trust." I felt the cliff edge under my feet. She was my boss. She was married. This was every line I wasn't supposed to cross. Then she looked at me, rain loud enough to cover her shame. "Can I stay at your place tonight?" 11:06 p.m. My building lobby, soft music playing. The doorman nodded, glanced at Claire, then at me. Recognition flickered across his face. "Guest?" he asked. I signed the visitor log. My pen scratched the paper. Permanent. Inked. In the elevator, Claire stood rigid, facing forward. Her wet hair dripped onto her coat. At my door, I set the rules. Couch, blanket. I sleep in my bedroom. Door stays open. One night. She agreed too fast. When she emptied her purse to check again, I noticed something. Her car key fob was clipped to an inner pocket, meaning she didn't lose all her keys. She left the house keys behind. Her eyes flashed guilt when she realized I noticed. Mrs. Delaney's door opened. Her cat slipped out. She saw Claire's heels in my entryway. "Late for company, honey," Mrs. Delaney said, smiled too wide, like she was filing it away. 2:14 a.m. I lay in bed awake, heard the radiator hum, heard Claire's breathing from the couch. I got up for water. The kitchen light showed her sitting upright, blanket tight around her shoulders, staring at nothing. "I left them on purpose," she said. Barely. She didn't explain, just said, "I couldn't do another night." I didn't touch her, made tea, handed it over carefully. "Your apartment is—" She paused, looked around. Clean, lived in. She asked me questions about my life. Small things, like she was trying to picture a version of herself that could fit here. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Mrs. Delaney's nightly routine. Claire lowered her voice instinctively. Later, she fell asleep, sitting up. I placed a folded blanket over her shoulders. Didn't brush her skin. 6:05 a.m. I woke to the elevator chime outside. Claire was standing by my window, shoes in hand, hair still damp, staring down at the street. "I need to leave before anyone sees me," she said. I walked her to the elevator, stopped short of the lobby to avoid cameras. She took the last steps alone. Composed again. I went back upstairs and found her scarf draped over my chair. Soft wool, faint perfume. Rain. I thought about chasing her. I didn't. At the office, I arrived early. Nina studied my face. "You look like you didn't sleep." Claire came in later, perfectly styled, didn't look at me. The contrast felt like betrayal and survival at once. I opened my desk drawer that afternoon and found a note from her assistant. "Claire requests you attend tonight's client dinner." No explanation. 6:30 p.m. Upscale restaurant, private room. I felt underdressed. Claire played the perfect executive, gliding through conversation. But she relied on me, asked me questions only I could answer, anchored herself to me. Nina watched. After dinner, outside in the rain, Claire's car wouldn't start right away. I stood with her under an awning. The quiet stretched. She stepped closer, whispered, "Last night felt like breathing," then pulled back, like she'd said too much. 10:48 p.m. I returned to my building. Mrs. Delaney was in the hallway, watering a plant that didn't need water. "Your friend okay?" she asked. I lied. "Work emergency. She needed a safe place to wait." She accepted it the way people accept stories they don't believe. Inside, I folded Claire's scarf, put it in a drawer, took it out again. I drafted a text. Didn't send it. At 11:57, I got an email from her. Thank you for your discretion. Nothing else. Friday morning. Train to work. Phone screen still glowing with her message. At the office, Claire was ice, only communicated through email. Nina cornered me near the coffee machine. I saw you sign the visitor log Wednesday night, she said. Not accusing. Warning. My heart dropped. Claire passed me in the hallway later. Her perfume hit me. Her hand hovered near my sleeve for half a second. Then she kept walking. That evening I stopped at a grocery store, bought cheap ingredients, stared too long at the tea aisle. Outside, I ran into Nina. Pure coincidence. She joked about seeing me outside my natural habitat. I panicked, wondered if she lived nearby, if she was tracking me. She wasn't. She was just being friendly. The doorman greeted me when I got home. Your guest from Wednesday made it home okay? I forced a smile. Upstairs, I found a package slip. Someone tried delivering something to Claire W. by mistake. I stared at it like fate. That night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Is this Ethan? G. Graham. 9:02 p.m. I sat on my bed, thumb hovering. I replied, Yes, this is Ethan from the firm. We met in the lobby. Small world. My stomach dropped. He asked neutral questions that weren't neutral. Claire's been working late. You've been helping? I stayed professional, answered minimally. Mrs. Delaney knocked with extra soup. Clearly fishing. At 1:11 a.m., I got an email from Claire. Please do not engage with Graham. She knew. She was monitoring. Saturday morning, small cafe, espresso machine hiss. I saw Claire across the street in a car. Paused at a light. Then gone. At home, I found a handwritten note under my door. Your neighbor seems friendly. Be careful. No signature. Nina called that afternoon, warned me office chatter was picking up. Graham had been asking questions. I decided the only safe move was distance. Saturday night, 11:40. I texted Claire one careful line. I will keep everything professional. I hope you're safe. No heart, no softness. Sunday morning. Sunlight for the first time all week. I tried to reclaim routine, cleaning, grocery shopping, called my mother, brief, grounding. Mrs. Delaney caught me at the mailbox, mentioned she saw a fancy car outside Wednesday night. I denied everything. That evening, I packaged the scarf in plain paper. No note, just the firm's mailroom address. I dropped it in a mailbox at 6:10. Felt like I was throwing away warmth. Monday morning, office lobby music. The package was already on Claire's assistant's desk. Stamped, received. Too fast. Someone noticed. A partner assigned me to work closely with Claire for a week. Tight deadlines, forced proximity. Claire scheduled late meetings, always with the door open, always with her assistant nearby. Safety choreography. In a glass conference room, she slid a folder toward me. Our fingers didn't touch. Her voice dropped. He's checking my phone. 6:05 p.m. Claire and I left the office separately. Planned it that way. But she paused at the sidewalk, like she was deciding whether going home was even possible. I kept it professional. Told her the basics. Change passwords. Keep devices with her. Use her assistant as a buffer. No legal talk. No HR drama. Just practical survival. Graham appeared in the lobby while we stood there, greeting staff by name, scanning faces. He shook my hand, held it longer than necessary. Good to see you again, he said, smiling. Claire's face stayed calm, but I saw her jaw tighten. He was fishing for proof, and I was the easiest target. Later, Claire sent me home early via email, to avoid being seen together. I rode the elevator alone. Heard heels behind me. Claire's. Then she stopped. Let the doors close without her. Separation as protection. Tuesday morning. 7:40. I stood in my kitchen staring at my tie in the mirror, remembering her fingers fixing it that night. I retied it twice. At work, Claire was colder than ever. Sharp, efficient, distant. I thought it was rejection, then realized it might be strategy. Nina invited me to lunch, privately. "Graham's been asking people about who stays late with Claire," she said. "He's charming. That's what scares me." I kept my answers bland. The receptionist mentioned digitizing the visitor log soon, making timestamps searchable. I felt a clock ticking. Late afternoon, I walked past Claire's office, heard raised voices through the glass. Muted. Graham was inside, 4:58 p.m. I paused outside her door. Through the frosted glass, Graham's silhouette leaned in, dominating the space. I didn't barge in, just stood there, heard enough. Graham's controlled anger, Claire's calm tone that sounded like surrender. When he left, he passed me. "People talk, Ethan," he said softly. "Be mindful of stories." Claire emerged, composed, asked me for a file like nothing happened. Her hands shook when she reached for the folder. That night, Mrs. Delaney texted me. She'd gotten my number somehow. "Your porch light was on late again." I didn't even have a porch light, just a window. She was watching the building. At 9:46, Claire emailed me. "I'm sorry if I made you a target." Wednesday morning, 6:50. Rain returned. I left early. Hood up. Felt like the city could see my guilt. I requested to be reassigned. Quietly. Framed it as workload management. The manager declined. "You're the only one who can handle this client." Competence was a trap. Nina told me rumors were forming. People think Claire's marriage is rocky. I hated that it was public. Claire avoided me all day, then left a coffee on my desk. No note. I didn't drink it, just stared at it until it went cold. That night I stood at my window. Across the street, a porch light glowed in someone else's building. I thought about what I'd told Claire, about my mother, about always knowing where home was. Thursday, 1:38 a.m., awake, phone screen glow in the dark, scrolling nothing, waiting for something I refused to name. I got a voicemail, unknown number, silent except for faint breathing, distant lobby music in the background. Then it clicked off. I suspected it was Claire. Couldn't prove it. The next day at work, she looked exhausted behind her perfect makeup. Didn't speak to me, but paused at the elevator with me for one long second, then stepped out and took the stairs instead, avoiding being seen alone. Mrs. Delaney cornered me that evening. "Friendly warning," she said. Didn't sound friendly. Men get blamed faster than women like her. I felt helped and threatened at once. I returned home, unlocked my door. The scarf was hanging on my doorknob. Impossibly. No note, no explanation. The only way it got there was if someone had access to the hallway without being questioned. I held it, fingers sinking into wool. My phone buzzed. 2:02 a.m. "Porch light is on downstairs. If you're awake, just open the window." 2:06 a.m. My hands trembled, lifting the blinds. Rain made the street lamp halo. Claire stood across the street, small in the weather, holding the scarf like a white flag. I didn't rush, checked the hallway first. Mrs. Delaney's door was closed, took the stairs instead of the elevator, avoided cameras, exited quietly. On the curb, Claire's composure was gone. Not dramatic, just honest. "He didn't hit me," she said. "Didn't scream. He just turned the house into a place where I can't breathe." She looked at the scarf in her hands. I couldn't stand the idea that the only tender night I've had in years might be erased. I told her the truth. No labels, no demands, no promises I couldn't keep. And I would never ask her to blow up her life. She nodded. Relieved. I'm not asking for rescue, she said. Just one safe point in the week. Her hand lifted. 2 fingers touched my forehead. Brief, steadying, then dropped. We agreed to something quiet, careful, occasional late-night check-ins, coffee left without words, an office light as a signal, a door cracked, not opened, weeks passed, not skipped, just quieter. The routine settled in like dust, like something that had always been there but you only noticed in certain light. Some nights I'd walk home and see a porch light glow from across the street. Not my building. Just a light. My phone would vibrate. A single dot. That's all. I didn't smile big. Didn't feel rescued or complete. I just exhaled. The radiator hummed. Rain tapped the window. Mrs. Delaney watched from her doorway sometimes, but she stopped asking questions. Nina never brought it up again. Graham stayed suspicious. But suspicion without proof is just a feeling, and feelings fade when nothing changes on the surface. Claire and I kept our distance at work. Professional, careful. But some mornings, there'd be coffee on my desk. Some evenings, her office light stayed on longer than necessary. Some nights, at 2 a.m., my phone glowed with a message that didn't need words. We didn't change our lives. We just changed the way the night felt when we knew someone else was awake. I remember the rain on hot pavement that first night. The wool scarf fibers between my fingers. The radiator hum. The lemon dish soap smell that wouldn't wash off. I remember elevator chimes and soft lobby music. Her subtle perfume mixed with clean linen, heels clicking down a hallway, phone screen glow in darkness. I remember thinking this was temporary, that it would burn out, that someone would get hurt or caught or careless. But it didn't burn out, it just stayed cracked, like a door that refuses to close all the way, like a light left on in case you need to find your way back. I don't know what happens next. I don't think she does either. Maybe that's the point. Maybe some things aren't supposed to be figured out. Just felt. Late at night. In the quiet. When the city finally stops pretending and lets people breathe. I still work at the firm. Still fix quiet problems. Still tie the same frayed tie every morning. Mrs. Delaney still watches. Nina still knows more than she says. Graham still suspects. And Claire still signs my checks, still wears her ring, still goes home to a house that doesn't feel like home. But some nights, not every night, but some, the porch light is on, and I know. The radiator hums, the rain taps the window. My phone glows softly in the dark, 1 dot. I don't reply, don't need to, I just breathe. And somewhere across the city, I think she does too. We didn't change our lives, just the way the night felt when we knew someone else was awake. Some doors don't open, they stay cracked.